The Big Pharma dilemma describes the current state of the drug industry and the decision companies have to face whether to invest in research and development for new drugs or to promote existing ones. The number of new drugs approved per $1 billion spent on research and development has halved roughly every 9 years since 1950. The question now becomes, do big pharma companies still have a moral duty to discover new drugs to better people's lives, or is their first priority to make money for their shareholders? The roots of the pharmaceutical industry began with the pharmacies that offered traditional remedies as far back as the Middle Ages. However, the modern industry as we know it today earned its reputation as being addicted to money, starting with the production of the drug heroin introduced in the year 1900. Heroin was promoted for its treatment of a range of illnesses like colds, coughs, asthma, epilepsy, stomach cancer, and schizophrenia. Additionally, anyone over the age of 18 could buy it. The highly addictive nature of the product, coupled with no government oversight and regulation, was great for sales for the drug makers at the turn of the 20th century. The introduction of targeted marketing also began around this time to continue generating sales revenue for the highly addictive drugs being introduced into the market. What resulted was a drug industry that seemed to prioritize profits over patients. World War II marked a turning point in the pharmaceutical industry with the mass production of penicillin. It helped the pharmaceutical companies shed their reputation as addictive drug pushers and rebrand themselves as producers of innovative and life-saving products. However, by 1950, pharmaceuticals had become the most profitable industry in the US, and as more aggressive marketing techniques began to take over the drug industry, decades of overprescription of addictive drugs continued to contribute to the growing industry and has led to the current situation we're in now. Supporters of the industry's current practice of inflating prices of existing drugs say that these high prices are necessary and that the profits go right back into R&D. Additionally, this practice is in accordance with the current corporate law. The industry acts in the interest of its shareholders because they are essential in providing capital to fund expensive R&D and the development of new products. Big pharma CEOs often argue the fact that while development of new drugs via R&D has a positive effect on profits, R&D is an extremely risky investment. On the other hand, the promotion of existing drugs boosts sales and is a means of increasing profits in a reliable manner. This stable cash flow enables pharmaceuticals to keep providing their services. Supporters say that without this practice, the industry would suffer. This would have an impact on workers and local communities, as factories could close as production would be outsourced to places with lower wage costs to counteract this loss in revenue. On the other hand, opposers say the pharmaceutical industry only maximizes profits with no care on the impacts on its employees and society at large. One example of this is the constant increase of the prices for prescription drugs. The total medical spending for prescription drugs went from $400 million in 1992 to around $10 billion by 2002, and prescription spending hasn't stopped increasing since then. Moreover, due to the extensive marketing of those firms, doctors tend to prescribe more expensive drugs even if the same effect can be achieved from a less expensive but also less marketed drug. This leads to the second great issue plaguing Big Pharma, the huge corruption in the pharmaceutical field. Since those companies are so big, they can afford to pay doctors to encourage them to prescribe their more expensive drugs. It was shown that physicians who received money from pharmaceutical companies were more likely to prescribe brand-name drugs over their less expensive and generic counterparts. This exact dilemma came up once more with COVID-19. When the COVID vaccine was discovered, Big Pharma refused to release the patent to the general public or to requesting countries. This forces other countries to buy the vaccines from the big brands and prevents them from manufacturing it themselves. The general public says that since the research was in majority funded by the government through taxes, they should have a say in whether to release the patent or not. Big Pharma opponents want to make it possible for developing countries to manufacture the vaccine themselves, instead of Big Pharma profiting on lucrative vaccine distribution. The pharmaceutical industry opposes this idea, claiming that vaccine patents are not the major obstacle hindering the drive to make vaccines available around the world. There are multiple potential solutions to this ethical dilemma, and some of them are currently being explored. Some are looking to fix this dilemma by reorganizing the entire R&D structure to reduce costs and encourage the development of new drugs. The pharmaceutical company GlaxoSmithKline has proven this possible when they went from one of the smallest number of new products in development, with 2 products in late-stage development, to over 34 drugs and vaccines in development after doing a sweeping re-engineering of their entire R&D department. Others are skeptical and say that the only way to find a solution to this big pharma dilemma is with more government oversight.